This conference will now be recorded.
Welcome to DRTSPR show. This is Dr. Tangella Shiva Prasad Reddy alias Dr. TSPR. Namaste, Adab, hello, and a warm welcome to one of the, I say, educated elites when it comes to sharing of knowledge in the simplest form so that even the commonest of the commoner can understand. He is Soumya Datta. Welcome, sir. First time, and I
Thank
hope you will
you.
be regularly sharing your knowledge through DRTSPR channels. Let me just give a brief introduction. The first time, as we do with all the guests, Soumya Datta is a long-standing people science and climate justice activist. Why we are trying to get Soumya Datta today is of obvious reason. We say the developed and the developed nation is the best example for us to ape so that we get all the technology transfers. But forgetting, even the developing country has to pay a price when it plays with the nature. We are not cursing anyone, and how true it is, America is suffering today. America is suffering with the named bomb cyclone. 40 crores of American population, more than 20 crores, half of America, if is suffering, and I'm told even there is no electricity. We'll come to that. That is the reason why Soumya Dattaji is a very apt guest for us. He will explain because he has the experience of working with the world bodies, which I'm going to relate it now through his. So he is a science and a climate justice activist who has written extensively on climate, energy, environmental governance, rivers, etc. Have engaged with multiple nature dependent livelihood based communities and helped them build knowledge and resilience. Have intervened in subnational, national and international climate policies and frameworks over the last 15 years, have engaged with UNFCCC process and spoken in over 50 meetings and conferences in different UN fora. He also made presentations, lectured in universities in many continents. He was the founding secretary of the Pan India People's Science Campaign, Bharat Jan Vigyan Jata, in the 1990s. Also, founding convener of National Children's Science Congress program. He has also helped build and strengthen grassroots movements on energy and nuclear issues, taught thousands of high school science teachers and activists, have analyzed and wrote studies on ESS, ESG of international financial institutions. He has also trained well over 1,000 students in mountaineering and adventure sports. Presently, he is associated with various other organizations, and he is onto himself. And I had a chance to participate with him in the recently concluded Calicut SAPACC, which he incidentally is also the founding secretary, South Asian People's what activism we say for climate in climate crisis or for climate crisis. So I
I
had
was
an
one
opportunity.
of the minutes.
Yes, he is one of the, along with Sagar Dara and the best of the people who have been there associated, Mr. Babu Rao, Sagar Dara, elites, and who have been part and parcel of these regular channels. These DRTSPR channels, we have completed 2.5 years connecting guests from wherever they are. Now I'm in Hyderabad, the guest is in Soumya Datta. Yes, sir, one passing comment before, as usual, I try to play some videos, one or two videos, and one for the cartoonists because they have killed the spirit of cartoonism. What rulers are doing, I'll try to show that also. One word from you before I try to show that video, after which 2 minutes video, what is happening in camera, courtesy Guardian. Yes, sir. How do you look at the scenario
First,
now?
Namaskar, and wherever you are, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day to everyone. What we are discussing with Dr. Siva Prasad Reddy is of extreme importance today. And if it is important for us who are a little elder generation today, who are beyond 50 and looking at the last part of their lives, it's even more important for the youth of this whole world. In fact, the way the climate crisis is evolving, and why I call it, all of us now in our groups call it climate crisis. I remember in 2010, in the UNFCCC Cancun conference, which was the summit of the UNFCCC climate summit. When I first used this term, climate crisis, many of my American and European climate justice friends said, you are using an alarmist language, people will get scared and not be taking interest. Today, if you look at it, the UN Secretary General, every month, he is saying the same language, he is speaking in the same language. He is saying the climate change crisis is running faster than we are, and we are running out of time. And he is blaming the corporates for creating this. So today, for the generation which is young and which will take charge of the world and in India, it's extremely important, along with their other issues, to understand that issue, take control in their hands, and change course. So that's my initial comment. And that's why we're all working on this.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think we have to think we are not the last one. Through these channels, I've been appealing, be selfish. What is that you are going to preserve and pass it on to next generation, your own kith and kin? What is that you are going to do with so much of property, palatial buildings, if your existential crisis happens? अगर आपका जीना ही मुश्किल हो गया, कल आप आपके बच्चों को क्या देना चाह रहे हैं आप? ये प्रकृति की विध्वंस करके आप, इसीलिए जो हम कहते हैं कि प्रगतिशील देश अमेरिका, आज अमेरिका में क्या हो रहा है, ये तूफानी और -45 45 के नीचे टेम्परेचर्स आज पूरे गिर जाने से अमेरिका जो है आज ये बीभत्स जो कहते हैं हम ठंड ठंड मौसम, नॉर्थ अमेरिका कनाडा के तरफ तो थोड़ा बहुत था वो लोग उसको, लेकिन हम मध्य अमेरिका से लेके इधर भी आ रहे हैं, आज साउथ से लेके इस साइड भी काफी ठंड वहां फैला हुआ है बॉम्ब साइक्लोन की तरफ से, और लोगों को वहां बिजली भी नहीं है। सोचिए आप किस तरह हमारी प्रकृति तांडव विलय तांडव कर रहा है वहां पर। तो आप सोचिए, जागरूक हो जाइए। इसीलिए ये शो काफी महत्व है, क्योंकि हमारी जिंदगी हमारे हाथ में है। हम प्रकृति के साथ सहज सिद्ध जीवन बिताएंगे या उसको नाश करते विनाश, उसका विनाशन का हम ही नहीं, वर्तमान ही नहीं, भविष्य में हमारे बच्चों को क्या हम देने वाले हैं, तो उनको भी इस विनाशन में शामिल करना चाहते हैं। आपकी सोच, जिंदगी आपके हाथ में, आप क्या करना चाह रहे, ये शो के बाद आप ही निर्णय कीजिए। लेट मी प्ले सम स्मॉल वीडियो। आई ओनली होप as usual it is not hacked. Where is this? Okay, just trying to show you a small video. This is there in the public domain for you. You can all watch it, and I think it's going to take some time for me. Yeah. So by the time the video gets ready, I think I will just go to Soumya Dutta ji also. By the time I start loading, we are just loading it. Yeah, Soumya Dutta ji, it may take a while. So meanwhile,
Sure.
what is the take now? How do you look at this scenario? America is suffering. Canada, what is
See,
that phenomena which is happening there now?
this is an extensive phenomena which is affecting more than two-thirds of the US population, but that is in the news. That's hogging all the news. What is not coming in the news so much is at the same point of time, for the last weeks together and right now, Europe is facing unusually warm weather. This end of December weather should have been very cold in Europe, France, Spain, Germany. If you look at this, the normal temperature, usual temperature at this time, maximum day temperature used to be 6 degrees, 8 degrees. Today, 2 days ago, I had checked records. Paris recorded a temperature of 15.7 degrees Celsius, 15.7, which is higher than Delhi. Some places in Spain and southern France recorded 22.7 degrees Celsius. So at the same point of time, when the two-thirds of US is under tremendous cold wave, almost half of Europe is facing a heat wave. We have to remember, this is the peak of, almost peak of winter in Europe. January is the peak of winter. So the climate systems have actually gone haywire. And this kind of thing has happened in US. I remember in 2014 when I was in New York for a UN meeting. We were in the UN headquarters. New York faced a severe cold, and the apartment we were living, the pipes froze and burst. So we had no water supply for days together, and the streets were covered under a feet and a half of snow. So people were facing difficulty in even walking, forget about driving. Only yesterday, if you have seen, there is a huge pile up, and this is a massive crisis. And this is happening because of the warming of the atmosphere in general. The jet stream, which is moving around the Arctic Circle at high up in the atmosphere, that gets disrupted. So the northern cold that has actually spread in. I have actual images of how that cold wave spread from northwest of the US and came almost up to Texas, northern part of Texas. So once the jet stream weakens, it loses power to hold back that cold weather in the Arctic Circle. So the jet stream, in a sense, if you use आप यदि normal language use करते हैं, it leaks, and this barrier leaks means the enormous cold wave of the polar region, the northern pole, it comes into the US. So that's what exactly is happening now, and this is going to happen again and again. Over the years, we'll see it again and again.
It will happen again and again. It's not a good sign. Shall I make you a presenter so that you can show the images, or else if you send it to me, I will. If you are comfortable, I'll make.
You
I'll
can
make.
incorporate.
Shall I make you presenter?
Sure, please go ahead.
Yeah. You are the presenter. Yeah, kindly show them, because that they are more important. What is happening? Let all youngsters understand.
Let me just.
Yeah, please. Take your time. Not an issue. So this is a big news. While America suffers with cold, Europe has become warmer than Delhi. This is a
Let
big
me
news
let
coming.
me just.
Yeah, please. You just click this share down and you say add sound, and then yeah, share screen. Then it will, from wherever you have saved it, you just click that and it will appear on the screen. Keep your camera open so that.
So is it visible now?
No, not yet.
Okay, so then let me check what else I have to do.
Because even your camera is switched off.
Yeah. Okay. Camera.
Now your
So
camera is on.
camera is on.
Yeah.
So now uh,
Yeah.
share.
When you yeah, now your screen is sharing. Yes.
Huh? Okay.
After you start sharing your screen, you just show the visuals as to how America and Europe are getting
Okay.
affected. America becoming colder, Europe becoming warmer, and Indians have to learn a lesson of the climate change which is happening, sweeping the globe. All the developed countries, American continent, and the Europe are suffering today. It's a big news from SOUMYO DUTTA, who has worked with United Nations, and he was
Is
there
the
in
screen now
2016.
visible?
Yeah, screen is visible, but your
The
sharing
image,
is just not.
the temperature anomaly screen that in my screen, is it visible now?
No, not yet. The temperature
Okay.
anomaly screen is not visible.
Let
You
me
just go to this.
send this to.
Yeah, you can send it to me so that I'll just play. That should be better.
Yes, I'll just send it to you right now.
Yeah, please. So I'm going to receive them. Meanwhile, I'll just see if I can play. Uh,
I have sent you the screens.
yes, I'll just try to play them. Yeah. Yes, these three, they are very, very vital. I will just try to put them into my this thing and let me just see. That's a big news coming from today's live. Not just America, but the anomalies are seen in Europe. How Europe is also becoming warmer while America and the Canadian part suffers with extreme cold conditions. Sweeping, yeah. So we have these pictures on the night. Before we go to him, those pictures, let me just bring you what has been happening. I only hope this plays the Guardian, courtesy the Guardian. As usual. I thought of just playing this video, but
And I have shared three images with you. You can show
yeah, yeah,
them,
they are there.
then I can also
Yeah,
explain them.
I will share. Those images are there. I'm just trying to get the viewers an
Fine.
understanding of what is happening. Somehow, this overlapping is just happening with the Guardian. I just wanted to play that video. These cookies and all, they're making our life difficult. Uh, just go there and oh, this screen. It is just I'm unable to remove this screen. I don't know how to remove this cookies. I don't know where it is. Second screen also engulfed with these cookies. We are trying to show you from the Guardian video as to how America is in the grip of the severe cold weather, which the Guardian has shown in it is 1.25 minutes. But unfortunately, I'm getting struck with these cookies. I don't know how to get out of this, which we try to overcome. But let me just try to play it through my screen if possible. Anyway, this Soumya Dattaji, these cookies are just spoiling our video. Then I'll just show you this. I hope this is visible on the screen. Are you able to watch it, Soumya Dattaji?
Not full screen.
Not full screen. Okay, I'll make it.
This I can see your screen of John Kerry in a small fashion.
Yeah, yeah. He see how the ruling government,
Uh,
John Kerry as climate czar. Only Democrats could pick a guy with 6 houses, 12 cars, 2 yachts, and a private jet to tell you that you should take the bus to stop pollution. See, that's how we try to provide you because this is the cartoonistic wonder how the ruling Democratic government in America trying to tell the people that they should use public transport to reduce carbon, in turn, save or get out of this climate crisis as which is trying. But whom did they pick? They have picked John Kerry, who has got 6 houses, 12 cars, 12 yachts, and a private jet to tell you that you should take the bus to stop pollution. This is what has been telling
in
corporates
fact,
destroying us. Yeah,
if I
this
can
is the
just
hindsight.
interject, this is
Yes, sir. Yes,
this
sir.
is not only the
Go ahead.
Democrats, this is also the Republicans at the same thing. So
Yeah.
most of the US politics revolves around not cutting down their consumption and telling the developing countries that okay, we are facing this crisis, which is true. We are all facing a crisis, we are facing a greater threat, and telling us to cut down instead of their high consumption. They are not really willing to talk to even the American public that we are going to tax your big SUVs more. That they are not doing.
Yeah.
So this is
This
the
is the
kind of
irony. I hope.
hypocrisy that
Uh,
goes around world politics.
yeah, this should be an eye opener, not just for Indians, for the Americans too. How their politicians, any party, and the administrators, and how they are being controlled by corporates, and how they are enjoying at the cost of suffering public. This is what it is, and he is proposing you. And let me just check why this is not opening. I don't know why.
Meanwhile, I can try to send you.
Yeah, you can send me more and more. I will just try
Hmm.
to get out of this. What is this cookie policy?
I just sent you a recent video sent my cousin by my cousin brother in Cleveland of the
Okay.
same blizzard conditions there.
Oh yeah.
Short video
Yeah, yeah. I will just try to play from Cleveland, right?
from Cleveland.
Okay, that's great. Now I think it has opened now, and I'm going to show you what's happening in America at the present moment. This video.
Now I think the Guardian one is playing. Good.
Yes, the Guardian one I'm trying to play.
Yes, good.
Because I just wanted to people to understand what is happening in America. Boxing Day, they should have been very active, but unfortunately, they are shut down. See what is happening in America. It's live on your screen. This is the boiling water turning into snow. My goodness. This is America for you.
When you're a kid. This is serious stuff. Please take this storm extremely seriously.
Yeah, I'll try to replay uh, the video once again.
In the United States, the U.S. continues to grapple with a mammoth winter storm being called a once-in-a-generation winter storm that's left at least 34 people dead and knocked out power to several hundred thousands of homes and businesses. It's also canceled thousands of flights and led to at least one water advisory. About 60% of the U.S. has been under a winter weather advisory as we speak. Let's go over to my colleague Abhishek for more details. Abhishek, Buffalo in upstate New York, I believe, has been battered pretty severely. People are being found dead in their cars. Can you bring us more details?
Of course, it's like one of the, as you mentioned, it's one of the generation kind of snowstorm that you can say. I think that at least 7 states in USA, Georgia, Kansas, Kentucky, North Carolina, Oklahoma, West Virginia, and Wyoming, they have declared state of emergency. While 3 states, Indiana, Colorado, and Missouri, they have also activated the National Guard. There are
Okay,
almost 2 billion people
I'm going
in
to keep
various
the
states who are without electricity at this point in time. Then, of course, there are winter storms and haze, which is stopping people from driving. and there are actually also emerging a lot of dangerous accidents happening on highways. Multiple warming centers have been created across.
Severely, people are being found dead in their cars. Can you bring us more details?
Of course, it's like one of the, as you mentioned, it's one of the generation kind of snowstorm that you can say. I think that at least 7 states in USA, Georgia, Kansas, Kentucky, North Carolina, Oklahoma, West Virginia, and Wyoming, they have declared state of emergency, while 3 states, Indiana, Colorado, and Missouri, they have also activated the National Guard. There are almost 2 billion people in various states who are without electricity at this point of time. Then, of course, there are winter storms and haze, which is stopping people from driving, and there are actually also emerging a lot of dangerous accidents happening on highways. Multiple warming centers have been created across highways and in various major cities, so that people could warm themselves because of the shortage of electricity and power cuts. So the crisis has been very much high, and it is but a reminder of a few years ago when the USA has faced very heavy snowfall and blizzard and deep in temperature, where hundreds of people were killed. So this year also looks very scary if you think about the current crisis of weather storm that is happening in USA. And those state emergencies have been activated, guards have been activated, but still the power shortage is a major challenge that US various states are trying to plug in, and so that people could get basic electricity and heating facility.
1.5 million people right now battling without power in the United States. Parts of Canada have also been very heavily affected. Now, that was my colleague. As a powerful Arctic storm sweeps through the US and Canada, around 60% of the population across the two have been severely affected. The storm has resulted in cancellation of more than 3,400 flights, and millions have been put under weather warnings. A severe winter storm led to the death of one person in Ohio. The accident also caused a massive pileup and blocked traffic. In Seattle, people were seen assaulting the roads. The sheets of ice kept piling on the roads, making it hazardous for travel.
Absolutely. Yeah, I took a bit of a tumble when I first got out there to start chipping away at the ice. But once I got some of the ice melt down, it was fine. You know, you've got to be real careful, though. It is super slippy.
We try to spend as many holidays together as possible. We're from an immigrant family.
So there are many videos coming up. Yeah, we just get into the discussion now after just finishing this.
Now we have some more breaking news coming in from the United States, where ahead of the holiday season, an Arctic blast has gripped most of the United States, which has caused 16 deaths from weather-related car crashes and left more than 70,000 without power. Many electric companies asked citizens to continue conserving electricity by not using large appliances, and more than 2,700 flights were cancelled yesterday, taking the tally to 6,400. Now we
are trying to
As a powerful Arctic storm sweeps through the US and Canada, around 60% of the population across the two have been severely affected. The storm has resulted in cancellation of more than 3,400 flights, and millions have been put under weather warnings. A severe winter storm led to the death of one person in Ohio. As a powerful Arctic storm sweeps through the US and Canada, around 60% as a powerful Arctic storm in the United States. The US continues to grapple with a mammoth winter storm, being called a once-in-a-generation winter storm that's left at least 34 people dead and knocked out power to several hundred thousands of homes and businesses. It's also cancelled thousands of flights and led to at least one water advisory. About 60% of the US has been under a winter weather advisory as we speak. Let's go over to my colleague Abhishek for more details. Abhishek, Buffalo in upstate New York, I believe, has been battered pretty severely. People are being found dead in their cars. Can you bring us more details?
Of course, it's like one of the, as you mentioned, it's one of the generation kind of snowstorm that you can say. I think at least 7 states in USA, Georgia, Kansas, Kentucky, North Carolina, Oklahoma, West Virginia, and Wyoming. They have declared state of emergency, while 3 states, Indiana, Colorado, and Missouri, they have also activated the National Guard. There are almost 2 billion people in the United States who are without electricity at this point of time. Then, of course, there are winter storms and haze, which is stopping people.
In the United States.
Ahead of the long holiday and festive season, people in the United States are also gearing up for tough weather conditions, which is forcing them to modify their Christmas plans. Nearly 250,000 homes and businesses around the United States are experiencing power outages. A powerful Arctic winter storm has placed more than 200 million people under weekend weather alerts ahead of the busiest travel days of the year, as a huge cold front swept down from the Arctic and took freezing hold of the middle of the country. Due to the harsh weather conditions, more than 2,200 flights were cancelled across the United States. Ahead of the long holiday and festive season.
Now we have some more breaking news coming in from the United States, where ahead of the holiday season, an Arctic... Now we have some more breaking news coming in.
I think this is enough. I think I'll just try to show you some videos which have been shared by our guest through his relatives in Queensland and those places. I'll just try to play them because we would love to bring you all. Many wanted, many have shared when we have announced that we are going to do this live show, but I'm afraid I cannot go beyond this. Yeah, this is what is happening, how the politicians who travel in their jets, they are advising people to go for public transport. Everyone, not just. And here is the video which has been shared by our guest. You can explain, Soumyo Dutta.
Yes, this is the condition. In fact, this has been shared by my brother recently. So this is the condition throughout, as you heard already, 60% of the US, and only day before yesterday, because the US is partly 9.5 to 13 hours behind us. So we get the news on the next day. There was a huge pile of vehicles, massive accident where more than 120 vehicles piled up in a street. Several people died, and this is happening all across. But one comment that I want to add to the video that was played, the Guardian video, is that it says it's a once in a generation winter storm. But unfortunately, as attribution, climate extreme event attribution science shows, these are becoming from once in a generation to maybe once in a decade and then once in 5 years. So that's the kind of massive danger we are facing while we are talking about the climate crisis.
Yeah, I think I'm just showing you the images which you have sent. So
this
once
is
in a generation, it's a big statement coming from Soumyo Dutta ji. Once in a generation to once in a decade and once in 5 years. Why? Yes, sir. It's on your screen now.
This is one thing that is not in the news, but you can see here at the same time that massive cold wave is intruding into 2/3 of US and more, a heat wave has intruded into Europe. So this is not just a winter cold. This is almost the peak of the winter, and many places in Europe is suffering from this massive heat wave. And we should not forget that last almost 2 months, Europe was facing a heat wave. Large part of China was facing a heat wave. And in this summer and beyond summer, India and Pakistan faced massive disaster. In fact, if you look at the globe today, out of 504 climate extreme events that have been analyzed, 70% plus have been shown to be severely affected by human greenhouse gas emissions. That's the climate change that we are causing. We means mostly the developed societies are causing. So this is the European heat wave in end of December, when the normal day temperature should be, if you can show us the next, where the temperatures are shown, that screen, normal day, maximum day temperatures which should be around 5 degrees, 7 degrees, 8 degrees Celsius. In center of France, in Paris, it has crossed 15 degrees, 15.7. This is the cold wave that is coming from the polar regions into the US. You can see from almost northwest, which is the polar region of US and Canada, northern part of US and Canada. This huge cold wave has actually, because of the jet stream destabilization, this has intruded into the US and Canada. So this is the front, cold front, which is causing this so-called bomb cyclone, combined with the warm and humid air which is coming from the east. This is coming from the north and northwest. So these two have collided, and this has created this massive so-called once in a generation winter storm, which will, as I said, which will become once in a decade very soon. In fact, if you recall what happened in Texas not so long ago, it's there. What happened in 2014 in New York and northern US is the same thing. So this is becoming more and more frequent. This is the cold wave which is penetrating from the Arctic region.
Yeah. Can you explain this
And
also?
these are the temperatures. Yes.
Yeah.
These are the temperatures in Europe. This is the map of Europe, and wherever you find a little yellowish or yellowish green, the temperatures are above normal. And some places it is not just above normal. If you look at southern parts of France, eastern parts of Spain, you'll see temperatures which is not even there in Delhi or Bhopal. You will find temperatures reaching almost 23 degrees Celsius, day temperature, maximum day temperatures, which is not normal even in Delhi or Bhopal. Forget about higher latitudes of France, which should be maximum temperature now, it should be 5 to 6 degrees Celsius. So having 15 degree, 17 degree, 22 degree temperatures, Celsius temperatures there at this part of the year on December 24th, these were December 24th if I recollect correct, is extremely unusual.
Extreme,
And this is
unusual.
what
Like,
the shape of the climate crisis is going to be.
yeah. Once you see Europe becoming hotter, US suffering with cold waves, bomb cyclone, and unfortunately, I mean, mysteriously, the temperatures in Europe, right from France to Spain, are much higher than India. Delhi, and that's a big news. So I think you need to switch on your camera, Swami Dattaji. It's a big news
I
coming up, and
switched on, but
yeah,
I
somehow,
switched on, it's turning round and round. I think
yeah,
now I can switch on probably.
yeah, yeah. You need to, because now let us discuss now why these things, these two phenomena, Canada and US being swept by the cold waves, extreme cold weather conditions in both the countries, but when it comes to Europe, extreme warm conditions. What is happening, Swami Dattaji? For commoner to
My
understand, even for
camera,
the people of Canada and US to understand.
see, let the camera come on because it's probably because of the bandwidth, it's taking a little bit of time. But in
Yeah,
the meanwhile, if I am audible, camera should
you're
come on, I
audible.
think, quickly.
Yeah,
I'm
you are
audible,
audible.
huh?
Don't worry. Yeah,
Okay. So why this is happening? See, people will say, oh, a lot of people who are the skeptics. In fact, if you
yeah,
recollect, 10 years ago, if you talk to an average US population, I'm not talking about scientists, not the climate activists, or not the environmentalists, but average US population, they used to actually scoff off this idea of climate change and climate crisis. Forget about climate crisis. Even climate change, they say, oh, this, so how come this cold is coming? If you are talking about global warming, the greenhouse gases are warming up. So how come this cold? So that comes from a lack of understanding of the science of climate change. Basically, as I was trying to explain earlier also, the cold, hot, all these are coming from the same source of the earth warming up beyond its usual range. And there is a great danger in that, which are called the tipping points. I will explain just now. I hope that this has also been talked about earlier in this channel by our senior friend Sagadhara. So I'll
yeah,
also explain that. What is happening is the warm weather, because the equatorial region receives maximum amount of heat and light and energy from the sun, and that is carried to the northern regions of both north and south poles by basically two mechanisms. The lesser mechanism is the wind. There are three global wind circulation patterns: Hadley cycle, Fresnel cycle, and polar cycle. But more heat and energy is transported what is called by the AMOC, Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circle, which is the ocean currents. The ocean currents are massive heat and energy transport mechanism. If you look at the ocean currents, main current around US goes up to Europe, which keeps Europe warm normally in the winter, is the Gulf, generally called the Gulf Stream. And over the last 15 to 20 years, it has been noticed that the Gulf Stream, that is the main ocean current which distributes heats around the world, is slowing down. And that's again because of warming, because the Greenland and the northern Canadian, northeast Canadian ice sheets, these are melting at an unusually high rate because of the high temperature. And that cold water is coming on to the Atlantic, northern Atlantic, and it is actually acting as a brake to the Gulf Stream, to the Great Ocean Current. So this causes multiple damages in, though it is caused, this driver is basically warming. The earth is warming up because of more and more greenhouse gases. But what is happening is, because this warming is melting ice, the North Atlantic is getting colder and colder. So this is called the North Atlantic blob. I'll share maybe with you another image of the North Atlantic blob, which is clearly visible from the satellite imagery. So this is acting as a brake to the Gulf Stream and the ocean current. And this is causing, one hand, more cold in the northern areas and more heat build up in the southern areas. If you have noticed, today the US is facing a massive cold wave. It's a blizzard, bomb cyclone, whatever name you gave. But unfortunately, just few months back, the US Gulf Coast, Gulf of Mexico coast, was facing cyclone after cyclone, which they call hurricane, hurricane after hurricane. They were facing the same thing. So this goes concurrent. And let me try to send you this picture.
Yeah. Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm just showing your earlier pictures. They are not visible. So for them to understand
Yes.
how Europe is becoming warmer, these images, while US and Canada become too colder, I hope every viewer will understand by the simple logic which you have clearly said, because Earth is becoming warmer, warmer and warmer, so that Europe, instead of staying cold, now it is becoming warmer than Delhi and Bhopal. So these are the, this point of time it should have been cold there. It should have been cold, but it is becoming warmer. So I'm going to share another image also, which our guest has sent to make you to understand. So meanwhile, I'll just try to share. These are the images. Europe becoming warmer, US colder. And what a better way to have an ambassador who goes around in his own aircraft causing pollution, which again warms the I mean Mother Earth. But they are the ones. Till we get, I think I'll just try to play something from Guardian again. Till we get the new one, I'm just trying to play the Guardian one so that you can understand what is happening there.
2, 1. It's not like a snow day, when you're a kid. This is serious stuff. Please take this storm extremely seriously.
So that is of the Guardian, which we try to show you again, time and again, because we believe in going ahead with evidences. Now we have got some latest information from our guest too, which I'll try to show. Yeah, these are the two latest pictures which our guest wanted me to show you. Yes, sir.
Yes, I'll just come back. Uh,
You are explaining as to how Earth is becoming
okay,
warmer.
so see this pictures that I have just sent. These are of the North Atlantic Ocean, and over the as all of us now probably without doubt know that warming is happening all across. So this yellow and brown and reddish colors that you see almost all across the world except closer to the Antarctic and a small round spot near the North Atlantic, which is very unusual in the North Atlantic now you can see, which is on the east of Canada and northeast of US and just south of Greenland ice sheet. This is called the Atlantic cold blob. Blob means and this is not a small area. If you think of these two boundaries, this is the Atlantic Ocean. On the left hand side is the US, the North American continent. On the right hand side, the boundaries are European continent. So between this is the Atlantic Ocean. So that cold blob that you are seeing, the bluish color with the white boundary, is actually more than 80% of the width of the Atlantic Ocean at that place. So this whole area is cooling down because just north of that, if you can see Greenland, Greenland, as you know, is covered by 2 to 3 kilometer thick ice layer, and this was covered for lakhs of years. So this ice is now melting at a very high rate. The rate that used to be it used to melt and refreeze, now the rate of melting is more than 6 times. So this cold water, as ice melts, the water that comes out is very cold. So that is coming out in the northern Atlantic just south of Greenland, and that is causing that part of the water to cool down and becoming more heavy. So this prevents the Gulf Stream, that's the ocean current, to actually sink down. And this causes the density of the ocean water to go down because the ice melted water has no salt in it. The ocean water has a lot of salt in it. So the ocean water is heavier. So that when it becomes mixed with the ice melt water, it becomes less dense. So it cannot sink. So the cycle, the global cycle, that ocean current is coming from the south near the Antarctic, crossing the equatorial region, coming up to North America near Canada, and then it sinks. And under the sea surface, deep below, it passes and travels back to Antarctica. So that cycle is being disrupted because this cold blob is developing. This is a cold area developing because of global warming. So we must understand that global warming do not mean that temperatures will only keep on rising, other things will not happen. The extreme cold event that is happening in US today, that's result of global warming. This cold blob is a result of global warming, and what this is causing is also very dangerous for us in India, in South Asia, in Africa, who live near the equatorial region. Because if you think of the Gulf Stream or the ocean current, which is scientifically called the AMOC, the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, because large part of it goes to the Atlantic, also comes from the Indian Ocean. It overturns. That means near this spot of the cold spot, it goes from the near the surface to deep down in the water, and it returns back to Antarctic under the ocean. under the water surface. So this water is slowing down. That means heat is not being transported, not as much heat is being transported from the regions we live in, the equatorial region, to the northern areas. So northern areas, particularly of Europe, are becoming colder in the winter sometimes, unless there is another heat wave. And our parts, the heat builds up. Our part means Africa, which you can see in the map, India, their heat builds up. So these heat domes, heat buildup, heat waves, these are also intensified by the slowing down of the total ocean currents, which is being caused by this cold blob, which in turn is a result of the global warming melting ice from Greenland and northern Canada at a much higher rate. So this is one we have to understand, that the climate crisis that we are facing are actually having multiple dimensions. Heat wave, cold wave at the same time in different places of the world. Fires, forest fires, and extreme rainfall in two different parts at the same point of time in two different parts of the world, being driven by the same climate change crisis, the same factors of greenhouse gas building up in the atmospheres.
Wonderful. I
And
think
this
this
is potentially very dangerous for us, because this is a very long lasting effect. Because once scientists have also estimated, there are very renowned scientists like Peter Wetham and all, who are considered the global experts on the Arctic. They are predicting that probably in the next 5 to 8 years, we lose the battle of reversing this trend. And if we lose the battle of reversing this trend or stopping this trend, then what we can possibly trigger is a causing behind the tipping point. That means this system will switch over to another kind of condition in the world, which are called sometimes, which are called a hothouse earth. So that will be a situation where human beings have not faced for 100,000 years plus. So our modern humans have not really seen that kind of situation. And unfortunately, we means the consuming societies of the world are committing our future generations, all other life on earth, to this kind of unbearable situations. If today's US bomb cyclone is seeing such a huge news across the world, imagine what will happen when the bomb cyclone happens in one continent and a heat wave happens in another continent, and a massive flooding, rainfall and flooding event happens in another continent, and at the more or less at the same point of time. We are almost reaching that stage. So it's extremely urgent that we act. And I don't know how to define the action of the global governments under the UNFCCC. It's a abject failure till now. So it's time that common people, particularly younger people, they rise up and take control, and they raise their voices to stop this.
wonderful. I
Yes,
think
Doctor.
we have projected. I think we have put all the evidences shared by our guest, very clearly explaining, even for a layman, इवन जो नहीं समझ पाता उनको भी पता चलेगा, वो जिस तरह वो बॉल था, जो ठंड में जो कि जिस तरह का बॉल बीच में आया अमेरिका और कनाडा, और साथ में यूरोप में किस तरह की वहां पर आज टेम्परेचर्स है, और इसका प्रभाव हमारे ऊपर, भारत के ऊपर, इक्वेटोरियल रीजन जो बता रहे हैं हमारे ऊपर किस तरह होगा, मैं समझता हूं कि ये पूरे आधार के साथ आज सौम्य दत्ता. And another thing, what do you think the main reasons for such type of global warming, why we could not stop it, and how we can stop it, in just a few words, which you have
See,
already explained
the
scientifically.
बेसिक रीजन इज नोन टू एवरीबॉडी, सभी को पता है. जो बहुत ज्यादा मात्रा में कोयला तेल गैस जला के हमने डाला है, एटमॉस्फेयर में डाला है, ओशन में भी दिया है, 27% ऑफ दिस हैज गॉन टू द ओशंस. तो वो सब जानते हैं. लेकिन इसका द मेन रीजन is that our economies over the last 100-150 years, all our economies has been so fossil fuel dependent. And of course there's the energy dividend, the what is the called the ROI figure, the energy return on investment or energy investment, that is high for fossil fuels. So fossil fuels are profitable, not only in terms of money, but in terms of energy gain. So over the last 150 years, global economies have gone to fossil fuels. And today, knowing that we have to change urgently, all scientific bodies have given this warning, be it IPCC, be it WMO, World Meteorological Organization, be it IPBES, we said 1 million species are facing extinction. We know this. The problem is the world is finding it difficult to find an alternative source of energy, which is, we have solar and wind energy and geothermal energy in abundant sources, but the energy gain is low, and the profitability of those energy sources, it's keyword profitability. If you keep on targeting high profitability, you will focus on oil and gas and coal. If you cut down on the profitability, look at long-term safety and security and long-term sustenance of the world and our future generation and all life, then you will have to go away from fossil fuels, not from today, but 10 years ago. That was the kind of right situation, because several scientific studies have shown possibly a safe level of carbon dioxide in the global atmosphere, average concentration, is 350 parts per million. हर 10 लाख में 350 यदि कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड होगा, उससे ज्यादा होगा तो ये खतरा बढ़ते जाएगा. Today we are at 419, which is far above that, and even very conservative science shows 450. If we cross 450 parts per million parts of atmospheric molecules, then probably the climate systems will go haywire beyond our control. That means at that point of time, even if we stop eating, stop talking, switch off everything and just die, even then the global climate will collapse. So that will be a catastrophic situation, which is called a climate catastrophe. And this will be not bad only for majority of the humans, that will be bad for many others. I'll just take 1 minute to comment on that. There are a couple of precedences how climate change has caused the civilization to collapse. If you go back 3177 years, which is the late Bronze Age collapse, which is called the late Bronze Age collapse, it was a sudden climate change triggered by geological events which caused the rainfall to collapse. 10 years, 20 years of continuous drought, food production collapsed, and very developed civilization, the Egyptian civilization, the Assyrian civilization, the Hittites, the Babylonian civilization, there was a sudden collapse within 50 years of global civilizations which were around the Mediterranean and connected to them. If you recall Harappan civilization, around 3,900 years ago, it started collapsing before even the invaders from Central Asia came in. So there is a precedence that climate change can really cause a civilization to collapse. Today's civilization, people think we are far more capable. Yes, our technology, our finance are far more. But unfortunately, the complicated civilization that we have built up, the interconnected complications, that is also far more vulnerable, which was shown clearly when this year India's wheat crop reduced by 20% because of the 4 heat waves. Economies of Egypt, Bangladesh and 10 other countries, they suffered food shortage. So it is a global impact. So I think it is high time that we wake up and take into cognizance that this is not only a threat to us, there is a possibility of a civilizational collapse. I don't think human beings will become extinct, that is not a likelihood, but our technological civilization might collapse if we keep it unchecked.
Wonderful. I think it is a big warning from Soumya Dutta ji. At least now let us learn. Cold wave for us simple commoners right from Canada to India equatorial region. If there is a severe cold wave affecting Canada and US, most parts are suffering. Most of the people are suffering. Then in between you have Europe, wherein warm climate is prevailing. This part of the time it should have been cold. It's a winter season, cold winter there. But unusual, the temperatures are higher than Bhopal and Delhi in India. And what in these areas, because of severe summer or heat, floods happen. All these things together, if they happen, what will happen to our survival? एक जगह ठंड, बीच में ठंड जो है कनाडा अमेरिका में, बीच में गर्मी जो है यूरोप में, अगर बाढ़ हमारे इस जगह अगर आए तो हम किस तरह जी पाएंगे? क्या यह संभव नहीं है? क्योंकि जिस तरह गर्मी, धरती माता की गर्मी बढ़ती जा रही है, बढ़ती क्यों बढ़ रही है उन्होंने बताया है। तेल, तेल कौन सा तेल, पेट्रोल हो, गैस हो, और कोयले से जो भी आ रहा हमारा ईंधन हो या कुछ भी ऊर्जा, जिस तरह हम इस्तेमाल किया है, इसी का फलस्वरूप आज हमको इस तरह की एक प्रकृति विध्वंसचर्या हम देख रहे हैं, कनाडा यूएस से लेके हम भारत तक। क्या हम इसी तरह रहे? क्या हम कुछ नहीं दे सकते हमारे अगले जो हमारे बच्चों के लिए? आप सोचिए, 10 साल पहले ही हम इसको रोक लगानी थी, लेकिन इसी तरह हम इसको इस्तेमाल करते गए, और इसमें जो भी हमारे को लाभ मिल रहा, केवल 1 या 2% लोगों को इनकी लाभ के लिए पूरा दुनिया आज इस तरह की विपरीत परिस्थिति में आया है। तो आप सोचिए, जस्ट फॉर द सेक ऑफ प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी, बाय यूजिंग ऑल दिस resources, natural resources which should have been belong to every citizen, the exploitation of natural resources, coal or that energy through petroleum products, this has resulted in global warming. Just imagine the situation, what is happening now in US, Canada, cold wave sweeping Europe, unfortunately warmer climate than India's Delhi and Bhopal. What if floods also keep happening in this other part of the world? It will be a catastrophe, climate catastrophe, which we have initiated 10 years ago. In 10 years back itself, we should have taken measures, but we did not do that. Even now, as he has clearly said, it is 419 parts per million of the molecules. Now, if it reaches 450 carbon dioxide, what will happen? This is the show all about. All the regions are vulnerable. The present, the existential crisis happens, and what is that? We are going to pass it on to our kith and kin. As he has clearly pointed out, the civilizations were wiped out. What shall we do now? I hope this should be a wake-up call for all those developing countries. US, Canada, take the lead. Europe, you cannot be silent. And the developing countries like India, Middle East, all those who have been building oil resources, think, what will you do with that money which you have raised? Can you survive? Can you have a better life for yourself, present and future, for your own kith and kin? What is that you are going to do with this? Destroying the Mother Earth and its natural resources just for the sake of making profit for only a few elites who want to fly around. But where will they go to survive? Yes, Soumya Datta ji, one passing comment from you before we wind up. Wonderful
See,
to
my
host you.
passing, yes, thank you very much. My passing comment is, over the last almost 30 years, we have seen the governments of the world, which are members of the UN bodies, like in the climate scenario, it is UNFCCC, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. In terms of biodiversity, because as all of us know, we are in the midst of the 6th mass extinction. This is the largest mass extinction going on over the last several million years. So that has also been created by us, but not only because of climate change, because of our chemical, industrial, agriculture, urbanization and all that. So we have seen over the last 30 years, from 1992, when the Earth Summit took place, the global population, the people thought, okay, all the governments came together, created 3 environmental global compacts, global agreement, UNFCCC, UNCBD and UNCCC, even United Nations Convention to combat desertification. So these 3 were supposed to be acted upon. Over the last 30 years, we have seen the actions by the governments have been sabotaged by the corporations. Today, the corporations are actually dictating to the government what to do, what not to do. So it is high time that people everywhere rise up, try to take control in their own hands and tell their governments, if you are not listening to our voice, you have to go, this is our agenda. So people have to understand, build up their agenda, force their government If they don't listen, throw them out. And that's why in SAPAC, the South Asian People's Action on Climate Crisis, and similar platform, we are focusing now more on people in general, people who are suffering from climate crisis, and the youth, and in general public, understanding, building up their awareness of the kind of threat, the extreme danger they are facing and their future generations are facing, because everyone, even an elderly person, loves his or her children or grandchildren, and they think of how to make it secure for their children's and grandchildren's future. So this is more than high time. We must rise up, and in that I compliment Dr. Siva Prasad Reddy and channels like you, so that you are really creating a good public awareness through your outreach experience. Thank you very much.
Wonderful, sir. Wonderful to host you. We'll keep doing this in series so that they'll understand. Even exclusive Hindi also will do it. Many wanted it to be like that. We will do it. We will come back to you. And the situation is not just the energy of oil or from coal, but the agriculture. The chemicalization of agriculture, hybridization of seeds has led to all this unnatural phenomena. It is destroying not only the mother earth, but the human beings. The same food we eat, chemical food. So people rise above all caste, creed, religion, boundaries. If you want to see the present, at least we can save so that we can give something better to our children. This is the time for you to act. And he clearly said, if governments are not listening, throw away those governments. Those corporations, corporates, 1% for their survival, the governments, if they are being funded by such corporates, and if they are not thinking on the lines of majority of the people, including saving and protecting environment so that we can live a better life, and it clearly says, if not now, it can never. So the danger bells have already rung. Clearly, the agenda is there. US, Canada suffering with severe cold storms while Europe becomes very, very warm. And you have seen in this part of the world, equatorial region, India, South Asia, and all, how the weathers have been changing very frequently. Rain, winter, too cold, too hot. It is evident. आप समझ जाइए किस तरह हम आज एक नाजुक स्थिति में आ गए, किस तरह हम वातावरण में बदलाव देख रहे हैं. एक साइड ठंड, बीच में गर्मी, और ये हमारे यहाँ ठंड होता है, बारिश होता है, गर्मी होती है. क्यों हो रही है? सोचिए आप, आपके हाथ में ही है. थिंक, इट इज देयर इन आवर हैंड्स whether we would become extinct or try to understand, save this present so that we can have some better future for our own kith and kin, our children. Thank you very much, sir. Take care. We will repeat this
Thank
on
you.
Environment People SPR channel subsequently too. Because of the bandwidth, we could not
Yes.
watch Soumya Datta, that too being in Delhi. This is the situation which is happening. The technological
No,
marvelous.
unfortunately, I am not in Delhi now. I am in
Yeah, yeah, you said
Konkan area. So that's
yeah.
why the bandwidth is a little low. But even in Delhi, this can happen. We have seen this happening
Anywhere.
in other places.
Yeah, yeah. As soon as we announce a show on DRTSPR channel, somehow all these technological marvels will suddenly
Yes.
collapse. They suddenly collapse. That shows we are always on the path of truth. Satyameva
Yes.
Jayate. Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu. Take care. Your life in your hands. Save the present for a better future. Otherwise, it's a gone case. Thank you very much, sir. Take care. We'll be happy to
Thanks and
host you
namaste
again.
to everyone.
Yeah, namaste, sir.
Sure.
And there will be a repeat of this, such a wonderful issue which has been discussed on environment people, DRTSPR channels, which we are going to announce very shortly. Take care. Sukha Nidra Shubharatri, just for the sake of saying. Otherwise, it is not at all Sukha Nidra Shubharatri for all citizens across the globe. It's a wake up call. If not now, it will never. Thank you very much, sir. Bye.
Bye.